Hey, math fans. Welcome to the day 2 installment of formalizing relations and functions. So far we have seen functions represented as equations involving x and y. For example, y equals negative 3x plus 2. Now, if I wanted to write that same equation, but write it in function notation, I would do instead of y, I do f parenthesis x equals, and then the remaining part is written as it is in the equation, negative 3x plus 2. That f parenthesis x, when we read that, in other words, when we see it, when we see y equals, we say y equals. Well, when we see this f parenthesis x, we say f of x, which simply means the function of x. Now, another thing to keep in mind, so f is the name of a function and it's not considered a variable at this point in time. Another interesting thing to consider is it does not always have to be the letter F. Okay? That letter F, it could be a G, an M, whatever, but that F just kind of represents the name of a function. It's not a variable. All right, so we see an example of that here in the first couple of problems. Instead of it saying f of x, we've got g of x. So what this tells us is when I've got g of x equals 5x plus 2, it goes on and it says g of negative 3. So all that means when I see this right here is that I'm going to go ahead and every time I see an x, I'm going to put a negative 3 in its position. So I start by saying, okay, I'm going to use negative 3 for x. So I'm going to say 5 times negative 3 plus 2. So I follow my order of operations, and I'm going to multiply 5 times negative 3, which is negative 15, plus 2. And negative 15 plus 2 is negative 13. So my final answer is going to be written this way. All right, so we go on and we take a look at this next one. And this time, again, instead of using f, they're using h. And they say we need to find it when the value of x is 2. So this is what I'm doing. And 2 squared minus 1. Order of operations tells me I have to deal with parentheses first, but I don't really have parentheses here. Parentheses entails that we've got more than one number in the parenthesis along with some sort of operation to do between it. Here, though, I do see an exponent, 2 squared, and 2 squared is 4. And 3 times 4 is 12, and 12 minus 1 is 11. So my final answer looks like this. Now, we can go on and we can get this story problem here. And it says the function w of x equals 250x represents the number of words that you can read in x minutes. So how many words can we read in 8 minutes? So now we're going to do w of 8 is then 250 times 8. Well, I happen to know 250 times 4 is 1,000. So if I take it times 8, it's going to be 2,000. So I will write my answer this way. or I would say 2,000 words if I am putting my label on it. So I can read 2,000 words in 8 minutes. Another way to think of domain and range is that domain is the set of x values and range is the set of y values. So as I said earlier, I look at this personally. D comes before R and X comes before Y. So X always matches up. X is my domain and range is my Y values. So now we are given an equation, f of x equals negative 4x plus 3. And then you'll notice behind it, we've got our brackets and it says negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. What the directions are asking us to do is it says find the range of each function for the given domain. So essentially what they've done here is they've said, oh, hey, these are all the x's. These are your domains, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. And then it goes on, and our task then is to figure out if I plug those in as my values for x, what would my y values be? That would be my range. So for each of these, I'm simply going to think, okay, I'm going to take negative 4 times negative 2 and then add 3. I'm going to do negative 4 times negative 1, add 3. Negative 4 times 0, add 3. Negative 4 times 1, add 3. And negative 4 times 2, add 3. So now when I do these, negative 4 times negative 2 is 8, and 8 plus 3 is 11. Now I am no good at making those nice little lines, so I just do my squiggles here. So my first answer is 11. That matches up with the negative 2. Negative 4 times negative 1 is 4, and 4 plus 3 is 7. So that's going to go next because it matches with the negative 2, and so on. I'm just going to keep finding those solutions. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4, plus 3 is negative 1. And negative 4 times 2 is negative 8, plus 3 is negative 5. So those are my range that matches up with the function I was given. All right, number 5, going to do the same thing. This time, my f of x is the value of x squared. So negative 1 squared, negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. A negative 1/2 squared is like saying negative 1/2 times negative 1/2. Well, 1/2, for those of us who are trying to remember, I can just do it this way. 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4, and I happen to know 1/4 is 25 hundredths. Okay. 0 squared is 0. A positive half, just like my negative half, is going to be 25 hundredths. And again, 1 squared, still 1. So there are my, there's my range for the domain that they gave me. All right, it is now your turn to give a couple of these a try. So again, what I would like you to do with these is go ahead and formalize a negative 4 when the function of x is a negative 4x plus 3, and when the function of x is 2x minus 7. Here are your problems to do for that. And you know what I just realized? I have a huge issue. I just typed in for number 4, for number 6, I typed in number 4 again. So you know what? We're just going to take care of that right now. What I really meant to put here is this slightly easier problem. Although I don't know, I suppose it is pretty easy when I've already given you the answer. All right, there we go. I promise these are the real problems you need to do for me now. Go ahead and do those, and then we will talk about them in class. Have a great day.